Good morning, everyone. In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to use a Fagor 20IM or a Fagor 30IM DRO to make a bolt hole pattern. I want to first demonstrate what the drawing is going to look like that we're going to try to accomplish. The first thing we need to do is we need to verify that we are at the center of where we want to do our bolt hole pattern from. We have a total of 8 holes, and they're evenly spaced at 45 degrees. The diameter of the circle is a 2-inch diameter. So first things first, let's go ahead and press the F key. The F key will allow us to toggle through and select bolt hole pattern, linear pattern, or the operation that you want to do. In our case, we want to use bolt hole pattern, so I want to press Enter. The first thing it's asking us is the radius. So from our drawing, we have a 2-inch diameter, so we have a value of 1 for the radius. Now, the number of holes that you want to do. In our case, we have a total of 8 holes, so we're going to select 8. Alpha. What is alpha? Well, our first hole is at 3 o'clock by default. Alpha means that what is my last angle? So if this is 0, if I want to do a half an arc, I would enter 180 and it would do a half an arc and stop here. If I want a 90-degree arc or bolt hole pattern, I'm going to enter 90 and it'll do bolt hole patterns here evenly spaced up to 90 degrees. But in my case, I want a full 360 degrees, so we're going to leave this at 0. So beta. As I mentioned earlier, our first hole is at 3 o'clock. If I enter a value of 10, this bolt hole will no longer be at 3 o'clock. It is shifted by 10 degrees. So technically, my bolt hole or my first hole would be here, and then the remaining will be evenly spaced by 45 degrees. So again, the beta means I'm shifting the bolt hole pattern by 10 degrees. So enter. So at this point, it's telling me I'm going to go ahead and start with hole number 1. I press enter to begin the operation of moving the scales to hole number 1. So in this case, you're going to move your machine, and I'm moving scales, so it's going to be a little bit trickier for me to get to 0. But the idea is to move your axis to where you're reading 0, and then you're going to press enter, and it tells you now we're doing hole number 2. I press enter, and again we're going to move the axis till we reach 0 on both X and Y, and then you do your drill, you press enter, it takes you to hole number 3, and you repeat. Make sure you take it to 0, you do your drill, press enter, it takes you to hole 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, so let's say that we're done, and our holes are not evenly spaced as they are here. Here 8 holes evenly spaced out over 360 is 45 degrees. So let's say I want to dictate and say maybe the holes are every 30 degrees, and let's say I want to stop at 180. Okay, so let's do it this way. So back again, we press the F key so we see the bolt hole pattern. We select enter. We enter the radius. Again, we have a 2-inch diameter, so we enter a 1-inch radius. Now, number of holes. Instead of saying the number of holes you want to say I have 0 holes and you have alpha. So again, if you want a full 360, you want to leave it at 0. Otherwise, we're going to say 180. And again, our first hole is at 3 o'clock, and we want to stop at 180. So our alpha is going to be 180 for a half an arc. And now we have a new thing called delta. So delta would be the distance between the center of this hole and the center of this hole. All right. So if it's not evenly spaced, you want to enter a value of 0 in number of holes, and you would get the option for delta. So now I can say every 30 degrees is the distance between the holes, and you still have the option with beta to shift the bolt hole pattern by 10 degrees. In other words, we're not going to be at 3 o'clock. We'll be shifted up by 10 degrees. And then this hole and this hole will be evenly spaced by 30 degrees. This hole and this hole will be evenly spaced by 30 degrees until we get to the 180 that we define. So we press enter, and you would repeat the process. We're doing hole number 1. This is the distance of how far away I am from hole number 1. I would move my scales so I read 0 on both X and Y. I would press enter, and it's going to take me to hole number 2. This is my distance of how far away I am from the second hole. Again, move it to 0, do your drill, press enter, and it takes you all the way through, you know, until you tell it I'm done with the number of holes that I want to actually accomplish. So if it's 5 or if it's 6, it's up to you to stop. Just to stop, you can press clear, and it takes you right out, and you don't have to keep going. So hopefully this video helps. And if you have any further questions, feel free to contact us. Thank you.